We start tonight with a fresh challenge the Attorney General is having to battle with in his bid to succeed in prosecuting the former Cocoa Board CEO, Dr. Stephen Opuni, because tonight witnesses in the case have declared they will no longer testify against the former NDC stalwart. This comes in the wake of a court ordering a fresh trial after a new judge took over the case. A new judge, Justice Kwesi Anochijima, had asked the AG's office to file all relevant documents, including the testimony of his witnesses, to enable the trial commence. But Deputy AG Alfred Tianyebua says this is proving difficult. Legal Affairs correspondent Joseph Akabile joins us right now with more on this developing story. Joseph, what more are we learning about the difficulties Attorney General is facing in getting these witnesses to come back and testify? Hello, Joseph. We'll get Joseph back on the line right now. We'll also get a bit more detail from lawyers on what this means. This is not the first time the AG is coming into some form of a pickle when it comes to dealing with this very matter, with the prosecution of the former Cocoa Board CEO. Joseph joins us right now. Hello, Joseph. So what more are we learning about this? This appears to be the latest in a long string of challenges thrown the AG.
Yes, Evans. So there are two main witnesses out of the seven that they called upon since the trial commenced in 2017. That is proving to be a bit of a challenge. The AG's office indicates that for one of them, he says previously when he testified, he was in a box for almost 2 years. And so that was too much work for him at that particular point in time, and that he does not want to be subjected to that again. There's another individual who has indicated that he is retired, and so he was a public official who testified in his official capacity, called upon to come and testify. And he says that he's no longer in public office, he has retired and just simply wants to enjoy his retirement. And so the AG's office did inform the court that, yes, the court ordered them to file the witness statement, but they are here to ask for more time because most of our witnesses, and I'm quoting the AG here, who testified are not willing to testify again. And so one of them is on retirement, like I did indicate, and the other says it took him 2 years in the box. And so the AG's office then asked the court that they need more time to enable them to engage these witnesses.
I'm curious to know what the reaction from Dr. Opuni's lawyers have been to this. They must be pretty happy with the outcome.
I mean, they did not oppose the request for more time. I mean, they simply said that, I mean, if that's what the AG is asking for, they do not have any issues with it. And the court actually asked the AG how long do they want to do this engagement with them. And the request that came from the AG's office was that they wanted a month to carry this out. And so the court gave them that 1 month adjournment. And this case is interesting in the sense that from the onset of the trial, the AG's default position has always been wanting the matter to be dealt with expeditiously. In fact, there was an instance that Attorney General Godfrey Adame publicly cited this particular case as one that he says he does not simply understand why it has taken that longer time. But this time around, in the last couple of weeks, what we've seen is the AG first asked for the judge to be changed when they realized that just about a month to the judge retiring, the case could not be concluded. And now the request about whether the trial should commence again, in which the case the court took the view that the trial should start afresh. And this time around, the AG saying that they're encountering this witness difficulty, so they want everything a month to engage their witnesses.
And the AG, it appears, they haven't thrown in the towel just yet. They are pursuing other actions to have the old records used now that they are not going to get the witnesses back in the dock.
In fact, that's the suspicion of some persons close to this particular matter, that perhaps the request for the 1 month is actually to enable them pursue the appeal, because the notice of appeal was filed on 18th of April at the Court of Appeal. And they are complaining about the decision of the court, that is Justice Kwesi Jima's decision, asking that the trial starts, what the lawyers say, de novo, start afresh. No reference to the records already collected. They have to file witness statements again. Witnesses have to come into the box, rely on the statement, be cross-examined all over again. And the AG, in the documents that we cited that he filed, says the judge failed to consider the material facts and adoption of evidence is the evidence so properly so-called and not any unrelated matters. You recall when Justice Jima delivered his ruling, he had said that there were suspicions of allegations of unfairness which were all mixed up in the records. The AG in the document is filed contends that all those are matters that went through the legal process, either through appeals at the Court of Appeal or the Supreme Court's authority being asked to intervene, and the court ruled on various matters. And so he doesn't agree with the view that there's anything with the record that will affect the ability of the judge to deal with it. And so that matter is still pending at the Court of Appeal. And so that is the suspicion by some that perhaps it's what they intend to pursue within this 1 month. And hopefully, if that comes out and it's in their favor, then they do not even have to go through this particular process of having to file a witness statement and going through all of that again.
And Joseph, quickly, for those who may not have followed, why did the court decide to order the entire process to begin afresh after years of trial?
You can take that again.
I mean, why did the court earlier order the AG to start this process afresh, begin the whole thing again after many years of trial?
In fact, after this new judge had taken over the case, you recall that Tony Duga for a long time was handling the case, and so once there was about a month to his retirement, he was given an extension, 6-month extension, just about a month to the end of that extension. Then the court, the request was made to the court when a new judge came in that the trial should commence afresh, because the lawyers for Dr. Opuni took the view that the courts have previously ruled in different cases that it was important that such matters, especially when the judge who is coming to now determine the matter and hear it will not have the benefit of having what witnesses, their demeanors, among other things, will now have to just simply rely on what is in the record to deliver. It was in the interest of fairness that it starts afresh. And the judge agreed with that particular view and again made the point that it was in the interest of fairness because of the allegations of bias and other issues that had come up in the course of the proceedings. And so it was fair in the court to both sides that this trial begins afresh. And that is why the AG is going after this particular decision, holding the view that they don't think that was accurate. They quote that part of the judgment where the judge says suspicious and allegations of unfairness have been pronounced by the trial court. They don't quote the view that those are matters that should bother the court because they've gone all the way up and they think that it's something that the higher court have pronounced on. And so it should not be a bother at all if the court intends to rely on that particular proceedings. The judge had indicated that indeed if this record, he'll be saddled with the same suspicions and allegations of unfairness leveled against the current state of proceedings. And so that was the key determinant in the court's decision to order for a fresh trial.
Interesting indeed. So this latest development, when you have witnesses declaring they're no longer interested in testifying again in a fresh trial, what does it mean for the AG's case, considering that this is the most high-profile case yet involving a senior figure in the previous administration? You know how political administrations sometimes celebrate if they get a successful prosecution against a senior figure in a previous administration. That is what is at stake here. Let's bring in lawyer Bobby Bansing, who joins us on the telephone line right now. Mr. Bansing, I'm grateful for your time here on Newsnight. So witnesses have withdrawn, case ordered to start afresh. Even before it starts, on the back of this latest development, is this case dead before it even begins afresh?
Good evening, Evans. Thanks for having me. I do not. I mean, it's an interesting case. It's interesting to hear that a criminal matter has gone on for since 2017, and it would have to almost look like start again unless the Court of Appeal orders otherwise. I think that the Attorney General, with all its abilities and resources, it would be very interesting if they say that they will not be able to get two of their witnesses. I listened to the news, and the first one of the witnesses said he testified as a public official, and so if he's not in office, he doesn't know why he should testify. I believe that if there is institutional knowledge, the documents that this person relied on, the reports this person prepared, may be available for whoever is in that office now to testify. But more importantly, if you intend to call somebody as a witness in a case, in support of your case, and the person for one reason or the other decides not to testify voluntarily, the rules of court allow you to subpoena the person. When you are subpoenaed by a court, then you are no longer the witness of a party. You become technically what we call the witness of a court. And so if the Attorney General's office feels strongly that the evidence of these two persons will aid in their obligation or their burden to discharge beyond reasonable doubt the guilt of the accused person, then they have the other option of subpoenaing these persons. The risk is that if you subpoena them, you don't know what they are come to say, whether they will speak in your favor or they will speak against their favor.
And then maybe you are compelled to apply to treat them as a hostile witness, although they came for you.
Exactly. And, you know, if it's law, if it's law. If it's facts, if it's facts. If there's evidence, there's evidence. Particularly if these persons may have given witness statement previously, it will be difficult for them to now come and give evidence which is inconsistent with their previous witness statement. It will affect their credibility, and it may not augur well for the case of for the state or the Attorney General's office. So it becomes a very thorny issue. But I want to believe that with all the resources available to the Attorney General, they should be able to get their witnesses to testify.
Thank you very much, Bobby Bansing. With thoughts on this, what do you make of this pretty interesting development there in this trial of the former Cocoa Board CEO? 055-1111-997 is the WhatsApp line you want to send your messages to. I will share it with the rest of the world. Later on here on Newsnight, here on your election headquarters, we'll tell you why NDC presidential aspirant Kojo Bonsu thinks delegates of the NDC will commit an unforgivable sin if he's not elected to lead the party.
If I don't serve Ghanaians and I die, Ghana will miss a lot. Everything I touch is gold. So why don't I touch Ghana for Ghana to see gold?
Plus, why is he firm in his belief that favourite for the race, John Mahama, is dented, unattractive, and soiled?
The swing voters will tell you, MPP has really soiled him. He doesn't stand a better chance. Let's bring somebody new, somebody fresh.
Stay with us for that and more later. But now, the National Democratic Congress has called for a probe into allegations made in an Al Jazeera documentary titled Gold Mafia, in which one Alistair Matthias named President Akufo-Addo as his friend and lawyer. In the documentary on gold smuggling, Alistair Matthias claimed that he had been smuggling $40 million worth of gold through a company registered in Ghana. The National Communication Officer of the NDC, Sami Jemfi, addressed a news conference today and called on a special prosecutor to intervene.
We in the National Democratic Congress are deeply concerned about the damning revelations about our president in the latest documentary by Al Jazeera. The continuous naming of the president and his vice in all manner of bribe-taking syndicates must be a cause for concern for every patriotic Ghanaian who cares about the image of the presidency. Never in the history of this country, and I repeat, never in the history of this country has the presidency been so depraved and reduced to a criminal mafia as we are witnessing today.
As has become standard practice.
The Akufo-Addo Bawumia MPP government, the presidency has kept a deafening silence on this matter in the wake of the damning revelations contained in the Al Jazeera documentary. Given the record and penchant of this government to cover up grafts, Ghanaians cannot and must not accept silence or the usual flippant denials emanating from the corridors of power. It is against this backdrop that the NDC hereby wishes to call on the special prosecutor to take keen interest in this matter and launch a full-scale investigation into this matter with the aim of prosecuting anyone found culpable. Additionally, given the considerable public interest in this matter and what it portends for Ghana's image among the global community of nations, we wish to call on Parliament, the representatives of the people, to set up a publicly televised and bipartisan probe into this matter in order to ascertain the truth.
He also criticized the government's fight against illegal mining.
As we in the NDC have always maintained, President Akufo-Addo's proclaimed fight against Galamsey was the biggest scam ever to be perpetrated on Ghanaians. Today, the NDC stands vindicated. As a report authored by the German-trained cardiothoracic surgeon and former Minister of Environment and Science, Professor Frimpong Boateng, has all but confirmed our long-held opinion that there has never been any genuine commitment or any attempts to fight galamsey by the Akufo-Addo Bawumia MPP government. The said report by the German-trained cardiothoracic surgeon shows clearly that the so-called fight against galamsey was a charade calculated to enable top government and MPP functionaries to appropriate and take over the illicit galamsey trade. We are of the view that the only way to establish the truth and get to the bottom of the issues contained in the Professor Frimpong Boateng galamsey report is for Parliament to institute a publicly televised and bipartisan inquiry into this report, which essentially is an obituary of President Akufo-Addo's monumentally failed fight against illegal mining.
And Sami Jemfi is the NDC's National Communications Officer. You are live here on Newsnight. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. It is now being established. The Gulf of Guinea is now a theater of high seas robbery characterized by the seizure of ships, kidnappings, and murders. Over the last 15 years, container ships, fishing vessels, and oil tankers in the region have been targeted by pirates. And of the 90 global piracy and armed robbery incidents reported between January and September 2022, 13 have been reported in the Gulf of Guinea region alone, compared to 27 over the same period in 2021. Addressing a conference of the Gulf of Guinea Commission, President Akufo-Addo said the affected countries, including Ghana, must work together to reverse the trend.
Firstly, the issue of finding means of making our region a safe, secure, and prosperous one. It is important that we have some serious discussion on these items in order to come up with strategies geared towards strengthening peace and security and winning the fight against maritime-related crimes in the region, such as piracy, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, arms trafficking, pollution of the environment, smuggling, fuel and crude oil theft. We shall continue to work to address these maritime security issues to help curtail and eradicate the menace caused by these acts of criminality in the region, so as to build a safe, secure, and prosperous Gulf of Guinea region for sustainable development for our peoples. I beseech member states of the Gulf of Guinea Commission to show more political commitment at the highest level of government in the affairs of the Commission by paying the statutory contributions to the Commission and attending the statutory meetings at the highest and most appropriate levels. Also on the agenda is the proposal for the possible expansion of the membership of the Commission to include all the 19 coastal states of the geopolitical Gulf of Guinea for effective collaboration of our navies, coast guards, and other relevant maritime security agencies in the geopolitical space of the Gulf of Guinea.
Ghana is currently facing a grave threat as a result of this. Bordering 20 countries and with 6,000 kilometers of coastline, the Gulf of Guinea is a key shipping route for a region that relies heavily on imports. This is why the cost of piracy weighs so heavily on the region's economic and trade potential, with direct and indirect costs estimated at $1.9 billion annually for 12 countries, including Ghana, by the way. The threat level in the Gulf of Guinea region remains high, as highlighted by the United Nations Security Council resolution unanimously adopted in May. Now, Ghana's Foreign Minister Shirley Ayoko-Boitwe says the time to act is now.
The leadership of GGC and our citizens are genuinely concerned about the frequency of crimes at sea, the prevalence of illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing in our waters, the increasing incidence of smuggling oil theft, pipeline vandalism, trafficking, and maritime terrorism that continue to pose significant threats to the economic lifeline of landlocked and coastal countries of the Gulf of Guinea. Cognizant that this situation is not curbed would make sea transportation riskier, deadly, and expensive for all countries along the Gulf of Guinea. The closed-door session of the summit is therefore designed to enable us to discuss strategies for strengthening peace and security in our fight against maritime-related crimes in the region, as well as to deliberate on the text of the Commission with the hope of expanding the scope of definitions to allow for accession by other countries in the Gulf of Guinea region. As I conclude, I'm optimistic that during the closed-door session, we can explore options like the establishment of common laws. For example, a common close fishing season for the territorial zones across the region that would aim in the conservation of the resources of the sea for the benefit of citizens of countries of the Gulf of Guinea. With these few words.
And that's our Foreign Affairs Minister, Shirley Ayoko Butcher there. I want to take you to the Ashanti region now, where pupils in schools there have been without meals for about 3 weeks since caterers under the school feeding program withdrew their services. They are demanding payment of arrears and an increase of the feeding grant per child from 97 pesos to 3 cedis, despite calls by management of the school feeding secretariat and the Ashanti regional minister to call off the strike. The caterers are not backing down. They want leadership of the program to desist from issuing threats against them and rather address their concerns.
There are a lot of ghost names, ghost schools. That ghost schools, we want you to go deeper into it and bring that evidence out, because there are kululu over there, ghost names, thousands of ghost names. They should stop doing that. They are causing financial loss to the state. We are telling them.
Deductions, the illegal deduction by the secretariat. Madam is my head of school. She monitors me what I do every day, and she forward the information to Accra. Now Accra says that I did not cook. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Our caterers are suffering, and it has a serious political consequences for the government if they will not clean up the secretariat. Over 11,000 caterers are suffering, and the government says because of one person or 2 people at the secretariat, they don't care. Government will live to regret if they don't address this issue urgently. Even if I will not know, you cannot sit in Accra and decide whether I've cooked or not. I mean, it's not fair. And they have a system of frustration. They will intentionally frustrate you till you just give up. Many of our colleagues are not able to follow up because when you go, they will tell you, go and come. This officer is not around. I cannot be traveling from Apawu or Axim to Accra because of my money. When I come 2-3 times, I'll be fed up and I can't follow up again. Then I go back with bitterness in my heart against the government. So I'm saying that if they don't address this, the bitterness in the caterers will affect the government.
I want to take you now to the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi, where my colleague Nana Yaljima has been monitoring the impact of this on schools there, and he joins us on the telephone line right now. Nana, so tell me, as far as the pupils in schools are concerned, how have they been surviving the last 3 weeks?
So now parents are forced to give their children more money to cater for their lunch, because until the services of these caterers were withdrawn, most of the parents had to cater for the breakfast, knowing that when they are water in school, they will take lunch. Now, since the lunch is no more, they will have to also bear the cost of the lunch as well. This has affected enrollment in a number of schools in the Ashanti region. I have been speaking with some of the head teachers who would not grant a recorded interview, but according to them, when they had the school feeding program, the students were very punctual. But now there are some students who have been missing classes because when they come, they cannot cater for lunch, and that is one of the things that's affecting education in some of the schools in the Ashanti region, especially those in the rural areas.
Children now missing schools, especially in the rural areas, because there's no food. And I recall when this policy was introduced, that was one of the reasons why it is an attraction to drawing children in to get education. Parents also get a bit of room to spend monies elsewhere. But if you speak to the caterers, Nana Yaljima, They also talk about anomalies in the school feeding program and have called for an audit. What's the basis of this?
No, according to some of these caterers, they are not paid the exact number of days they cook. So depending on how many days they cook for these students, they are paid on that number. But some of the caterers tell me that when they cook 90 days, sometimes they are paid less than the number of days that they cook. So all these things have been affecting their finances because the capital they invest in the school feeding program, they are unable to get them back to help sustain the kitchen, the school feeding program. So they want government to look into all these things. Some also believe that there are some ghost schools in the school feeding program. Some non-existent schools are in the school feeding program, and it's also affecting the financing. So they want the government to go into these matters, do a complete audit, so that they will know the real schools, and also they will be paid the right amount that they are supposed to receive at the end of the academic year.
Thank you very much, Nana Yaujuma. Keeping an eye on the situation in the Ashanti region where pupils in public schools have gone without food for 3 weeks because caterers there who work for the school feeding program have gone on strike. You're still live here on Newsnight. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. Still ahead here on Newsnight and on your election headquarters. We'll tell you why NDC presidential aspirant Kojo Bonsu thinks delegates of the NDC will commit an unforgivable sin if he's not elected to lead the party.
If I don't serve Ghanaians and I die, Ghana will miss a lot. Everything I touch is gold. So why don't I touch Ghana for Ghana to see gold?
Plus, why is he so firm in his belief that the favorite, and many believe the front-runner, John Mahama, is dented, is unattractive, and is soiled?
The swing voters will tell you, MPP has really soiled him. He doesn't stand a better chance. Let's bring somebody new, somebody fresh.
And then later, the late influential Ghanaian whose luxury cars were sold to fulfill a wish to support his alma mater,
sharing fond memories of his colleague.
He had passion for cars. He bought quite a number of luxury cars.
You want to stay with us because we have details of that story for you, and we will tell you how Adisado College got a new dormitory from family of late and luminous Atu Mold. And if you are luminous yourself, why don't you join us with your thoughts ahead of that story? I will share it with the rest of the world. And guess who's joining me with the latest from the world of business? And Beverly's here. With that, Beverly, some good news about stability of the city, is it?
No,
or it's not
actually,
good news exactly?
No.
Some further warnings?
Yes, further warnings of the city stability. The fact that it could be derailed if Ghana doesn't take up steps to beef up its internal reserves. We have that, and also Trade Minister calls for reforms in World Trade Organizations to help developing countries like Ghana resolve trade disputes. Business News on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery and Alliance Live. We have details after this break. Please stay. Ms. Beverly Broom, we settle for the details now, and financial economist and research lead at GCV Capital, Courage Buti, has expressed fears recent gains made with city stability could be derailed if a deal is not concluded with the IMF by the end of May this year. This comes after the IMF warned that Ghana's net international reserves will end 2023 at nearly 3 weeks of import cover. Speaking to Joy Business, Mr. Buti pointed out a sharp decline in Ghana's international reserves sends bad signals to international investors.
Our reserve cover is actually very alarming, and the finance minister wasn't wrong when he said that if we do not get a program by March, the economy could collapse. We haven't seen that yet because some of those interventions have helped to some extent now. But I think this is time for us to do whatever we can to get a program running and at least get a balance of payment support going. And this revelation could actually even trigger speculative activities on the market in the coming days, really. And if care not taken, we might revert some some of the things we are seeing on inflation, if the trend continues as we are expecting, really. So we are not out of the woods. There is a lot at stake at this point.
You heard the financial economist and research lead at GCB Capital, Courage Buti. Now, Minister for Trade and Industry, Kobna Tahir Hammond, is calling for improved systems that will enable developing countries like Ghana to effectively participate in negotiations of the World Trade Organization, WTO. Mr. Hammond also wants the restoration of a fully functional two-tier dispute settlement mechanism. He made the call in a meeting with the Director General of the WTO, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, when she paid a courtesy call as part of her Africa tour, which began from Ghana.
You have no proper adjudication system because somehow the appellate system is collapsed. You only have the first tier tribunal. We cannot have a system of this magnitude when we don't have a forum where arbitration of disputes, which inevitably would arise to be resolved. I'm told that you tried very much to get this matter resurrected. So our hope is that by the time of the 13th Ministerial Conference meeting.
Well, moving on, banks in the country have begun releasing their 2022 financial statements ahead of the April 30th deadline by the Bank of Ghana. But the domestic debt exchange program has impacted negatively on their profitability position. Here's a business desk report.
According to the audited financial statements cited by Joy Business, almost all the banks that have published their statements recorded losses. Standard Chartered Bank is one of them, as it recorded a loss of 66.4 million cedis. This is despite a staggering 807.7 million cedi interest income recorded in 2022. The Tier 1 Bank, however, recorded a bad debt of 1.18 billion cedis last year. Similarly, Republic Bank registered a loss of 66.8 million cedis. It posted a net interest income of 370.6 million cedis, but a 237 million loss on financial assets and other costs triggered a negative position. Parent companies of First National Bank, Stanbic, Zenith, and Guarantee Trust Bank have already hinted of significant losses by their Ghana subsidiaries due to the impact of the domestic debt exchange program on the operations. Many investors should therefore not expect dividend payment for this year. Meanwhile, Societe Generale Bank is one of the few banks that recorded a profit in 2022. The bank, which was less exposed to the government of Ghana bonds, registered a profit of 110.6 million cedis. Joy Business had earlier reported that banks in Ghana lost about 15 billion cedis in 2023 due to the debt exchange program.
That was a business desk report. Now, the Ghana Export and Import Bank says it will provide financial support to SMEs in the handicraft subsector to help produce goods that will meet international standards. This, according to the bank, will aid in the purchasing of raw materials and molding equipment that will drive the expansion of the operations. Speaking to Joy Business at a consultative forum, head of export trade Judith Aikins said this is key in the creation of jobs.
We're here to more like give them financing. We're here to give them advisory services, as I said. We have an SME clinic where they can attend, where we groom them to be export ready. After financing, yes, we facilitate trade. So we guide them onto the markets, be the EU, Africa or Asia. We're here to support them to attend trade fairs, which is also very important in the areas where they find themselves.
You heard that Judith Aikins, she is the head of export trade at the Ghana Exim Bank. Now, stakeholders within the construction industry are calling for a massive boost in investment for concrete technology. According to managing partner and organizer of the Ad Media Germany, Holger, this could help propel growth of the sector. Speaking to Joy Business at the International Concrete Conference, he maintained that players within the building and construction space should be able to explore various opportunities to attract investors.
Africa would be for sure in the future one of the most prosperous markets for the concrete industry. Population will grow, and everything related to this can be solved with products made of concrete, which is sewer, can be infrastructure, housing, hospitals, schools, whatever is needed can be built in concrete. And when it comes to speed of construction, then precast concrete might be a solution.
Well, some players within Ghana's lottery industry are calling for more aggressive sanitization push by the regulator to boost the growth of the lottery industry. According to the general manager for Fortune Synergy Company Limited, Albert Osei-Afriye, local players should leverage the growing popularity on online lottery to ensure market growth. Speaking to Joy Business at the launch of its new product called the Mega Fortune, he said the utilization of cutting-edge technologies by the sector will aid in the fight against unemployment.
Digital in our space here in Ghana is not well known. So we bringing this to the Ghanaian community. We encourage Ghanaians to put their trust in the digital system. Brings a lot of convenience. People gone in the days will have to walk all the way through the kiosk, through rain, the sun, all the external factors just to take a lottery stake.
You heard the general manager for Fortune Synergy Company Limited, Albert Osei-Afriye, ending the business news on Newsnight. The news is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business, Kingdom Books and Stationery, and Alliance Live.
Beth, thank you very much. So live here on Newsnight is on Joy 99.7 FM. A few of your messages on our WhatsApp console now. Lincoln in Akwetaman says, Professor Frimpong Boateng should be commended for coming out boldly to expose those destroying our water bodies. Philip in Keta says, in fact, if the Attorney General wants to prosecute the former CEO of the Cocoa Board, then he must first investigate those big men in the MPP and should prosecute them first. Also sending us a message tonight is Nana, who is on the Spinkters Road. He says, are we sure the chief clearing officer won't clear his besties? We all had him on clearing the Ashanti regional chairman who's deep in the forest mining. Is the question he's asking. And then Achu in Dome says, I think investigations of abuse of office falls within the mandate of the special prosecutor more than Straj. This is your election headquarters. And we are building up to that crucial presidential primary for the National Democratic Congress on the 13th of May. We are all over it from now till the D-Day. And tonight we are focusing on Kojo Bonsu, a presidential aspirant of the opposition National Democratic Congress. And he says the delegates attending the party's primaries next month will commit an unforgivable sin if he's not elected to lead the NDC in the 2024 presidential elections. The former mayor of Kumasi will face off with former President John Mahama and former Finance Minister Dr. Kwabena Duffuor in the May 13th conference of the party. Ahead of the polls, your election headquarters looks at the chances of Kojo Bonsu. Elton Brobe, member of the political desk, has more in the following report.
Kojo Bonsu's wings is spread across the political, business, and sporting arena. The founder and former publisher of the Ago magazine first nursed the ambition for the highest office of the land in 2018, when he declared his intention to contest as the party's president flag bearership role, but he would drop out ahead of the primaries. This time there is no backing down, and here is his reason.
God has given me good vision. I'm a visionary person. If you look at what I did at the National Sports Authority, what I did at Goa, what I did with Adidas, and what I've done with KMA as well. If I don't serve Ghanaians and I die, Ghana will miss a lot, because I believe I have a lot. If you check my track record, everything I touch is gold. So why don't I touch Ghana for Ghana to see gold?
The bookmakers tipped former President John Mahama to win the race. But Kojo Bonsu says the image of the former president is dented, corrupted, unattractive, and soiled. For him, the former president is a commodity that will be difficult to sell to floating voters.
They've said a lot of things. They've put corruption tag on him. They have a whole lot of things, like almost saying PBB. They've said a whole lot of things against him. Like you can't even take it off. And that is where I feel very sad, because in this country, we have the majority people, the people who will allow you to win an election is the swing voters. The swing voters will tell you, MPP has really soiled him. He doesn't stand a better chance. Let's bring somebody new, somebody fresh, so that the swing voters wouldn't have anything to say against President Mahama.
Kojo Bonsu is a native of Ofenso, a town in the Ashanti region of Ghana. He had his ordinary level education at the Tamale Secondary School between 1974 and 1979. In 1981, Bonsu then moved to the Drayton School in London, England, where he acquired his advanced level certificate. Between 1985 and 1990, Kojo Bonsu joined giant sports kit manufacturer Adidas. He enrolled into their football business unit at Germany and in the process obtained a diploma in sports business and marketing. Bonsu served as a board member of Ghana Oil Company GOIL from July 2009 to 2015. He also became the acting managing director of the company.
GOIL was selling about 25 million liters a month, and I rebranded it with a team, of course, to sort of bring it up to now they're selling over 75 million liters of oil. And it's a great transformation. I'm sure you remember the time that when you go to GOIL, you don't even want to buy fuel. You would think it's adulterated because the place is messed up, dirty. But now GOIL had been rebranded and the changes and everything.
The former mayor of Kumasi described himself as tough, uncompromising, and firm.
And they like my firmness and strictness on issues. In Kumasi, when the market women wanted us to stop building the KGTL market, I went to court 32 times. But with firmness and resilience, I was able to build the market. Very tough. And that is one of the things that I see myself doing very well. They nearly jailed me even when contempt of court.
Kojo Bonsu believes the youth must be encouraged to pursue their talent.
Hey, the swagger. The youth, they're my bodies. See, there are a lot of things that the youth can do. Some of them don't even want to go and sit in a 9-to-5 job. But have you heard of Eurovision contest? I want to bring something like that for the music industry. That every region, you go and create a song with a good video with it. You do a local contest, you win. You go into regionals, you do a regional contest, you win. You go to national. Then we have money to back the person. So it become like Eurovision contest or Ghanaian Vision contest.
For Joy News, Elton Broby.
And this is the place to be for all things NDC presidential and parliamentary primaries. And we are all over it from now all the way to the 13th. You don't want to miss it. We're going to be bringing you special reports focusing on constituencies, the battleground constituencies. This week you will hear from the Adentan constituency, a very interesting battle set to play out there in Adenta. We'll also, of course, bring you a special report from that constituency. Many people are watching Ayawaso West Wagon, where two friends, who one was the groom, one was the assisted the groom at that particular wedding, and they've somehow become political foes. Very interesting dynamics indeed. I will bring you here on your election headquarters. Please stay with us for that. Let's do sports now. Ms. Bao is here with the latest.
Yes, Evans. Well, let's start off from boxing. It's former IBF bantamweight title holder Joseph Agbeko. He's been speaking, and he says he's not been celebrated enough by Ghanaians for his achievement and contribution to the growth of boxing in Ghana. Now, according to Agbeko, who now wants to be called Togbe Kaleto II, he feels unloved and hurt by the seeming disregard for his exploit for Ghana in boxing.
The boxing community does not appreciate me, does not love me. They don't treat me like how they treat the other fighters. I don't know if because I'm from the Volta region or whatever, but I actually live there. But for some reason, there are a lot of people in there that they don't like me.
So you felt marginalized?
Even with the Bukum Boxing Arena. When you go inside the Bukum Boxing Arena, there is a place where they have all the champions' picture in there.
Yeah, I can even picture some of them. Yeah.
When you go in there, Joseph Agbeko was not a fighter who just won a world title once. When you look at the champions, from the greats Azuma Nelson, D.K. Poison, everyone, if you want to mention about 3 or 4 great champions among all the 10, you mention me because I was 2 times world champion.
And that is the Togbe what?
Kaleto The second.
The second.
Yeah, he's now a chief. So yeah, that's his new title.
Is he
Interesting.
going to the ring anytime soon?
No. It does appear he has hanged his gloves. Yeah, he has hanged his gloves. But there's a big game coming up tomorrow. Is Arsenal versus Manchester City, and it's interesting the comments coming from both coaches Pep Guardiola and Mikel Arteta, and they appear to be saying that look, this game is not going to decide the winner of the Premier League. It almost looks like it will. At the moment, just 5 points difference between Arsenal and Manchester City, and if Manchester City wins tomorrow,
they win the league.
Well, and they have a game in hand too, so they have 2 games in hand.
Win the league. Simple as that.
Oh, what do you think about Arsenal fans, though? I mean, how are they really going to feel?
I have been saying all along Arsenal will win the league until they dropped 6 points in 3 games.
Yeah,
that's it. It's done. They lost it.
And there are those who feel that this was the only chance for them to win it.
Yes.
Because post this season,
they're not going to
win. How are you going to win
Chelsea's going to come back. Liverpool's going to come back.
Manchester United is going to be back.
Newcastle's going to be stronger. If you don't win it this year, they should forget about it.
Well, anyway, so that's it for sports events.
Thank you very much. You're still live yours on Newsnight. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, the police have tonight arrested a number of certified physician assistants who stormed the premises of the health ministry. The physician assistants have been picketing against their delayed postings 5 years after they completed school. They were sacked from the premises of the ministry while their leadership was arrested by the police. My colleague Samuel Mbura was at the ministry today and joins us with details. Mbura, did the police explain why they arrested them?
Well, Evans, the police didn't give a specific reason leading to the arrest of the leaders, but only said that they breached the agreement that they had with them so far as the picketing was concerned.
Go and give them, yes, go and give them moral support. Oh, that is why we came over. You didn't do the right thing. You were given a specific route and a specific order that do this and do this. It was hidden result until this. Which kind of results? Which kind of results? Even I am saying that I have stood here for over 1 hour. That we should be here. You have advising. You have been on him. You said your people said they will never go. They will sleep here. No, we haven't said that. That is what we were told. You have been I was told. I personally was told. It's from the leadership. It's from the leadership. The leadership. You know, I went with the leadership. My dear brothers and sisters, your people have been arrested. They are at the regional headquarters. Go there and then give them.
Why have you arrested them? Why have you arrested them?
The rules.
What rules are we talking about here? Is it the case that?
Thankfully, we can speak to one of the leaders of the unemployed certified physicians. He is Ben Isobu and joins us on the telephone line right now. Ben, have your colleagues been released?
Well, good evening. Greetings to your listeners this evening. Currently, they have still not been released.
They haven't been released yet. So where are they currently?
They are at the regional command.
Has the police explained to you what they've been charged with? Have they even been charged?
They've not been charged, and the police has not really communicated to us. So we called our association, and they went there together with the association's lawyer, trying to negotiate with the police to get them out.
And I believe they haven't been successful.
Yes, for now they haven't been successful.
Are you returning to picket, or you're giving up on the back of what has happened today?
We cannot give up. We are hoping that the police will release our leaders. And if they don't, we are actually going to gather and come back in all our numbers. This time round, we are coming massively. We did not go in our numbers because the police said we are too many for the Ministry of Health premises to contain. So we went with 30 to 35 of us. But if they do not release our leaders, I can assure you that all the 1,500 of us will hit the Ministry of Health.
Let me bring in Isaac Oferba. He speaks for the Health Ministry. He joins us on the telephone line right now. And hello, Isaac. Hello, Isaac.
Hello.
Great to have you. Just straight to the point. When will the ministry put the processes in place that will ensure the posting of these physician assistants?
Good evening, and good evening once again to your cherished listeners. The Ministry of Health, led by the Honorable Minister, Honorable Kweku Agyemang, is working seriously one, to ensure that these unemployed physician assistants are recruited into the system in order to support the workforce or the human resource of the health sector of this country.
When will that happen? When will the postings happen?
This cannot be said here. One, because per the rules and regulations, when you are done with your trainings, you forward their documents to the Ministry of Finance for clearance. Once you get the clearance, you are able to recruit them so that they can start work, and then you pay them. If you don't get the clearance and then you recruit them, what it means is that the Ministry of Finance or the Controller and Accountant General will not recognize them as working force members so that they can be paid at the end of every month.
So the challenge is you don't have the clearance.
And then they would also come back here to say that they have been working and then we are not paying them.
So the challenge is you don't have the clearance.
However, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Finance are in collaboration, or they are engaging to ensure that these people are given clearance so that the Ministry of Health can recruit them.
Okay, but you don't have a timeline that you can.
That is the only challenge that we are facing now.
Okay, thank you very much. That is the Mr. Fair, the Isaac Fair, who speaks for the Health Ministry. Now, Apawu, until his death in November 2020, was the chief executive officer of Makam Plant Hire, an indigenous company that deals in the rental of earth-moving equipment, among other logistics. He left Adisador College in 1989 with the promise to return to his alma mater and help develop it. His love for cars made him collect a fleet of luxury vehicles, including a Lamborghini, Ariel Atom, GT Shelby, a Nissan GTR, and a Harley Davidson motorbike. After his death, Atu's mother, Sati Okran, suggested that the vehicles be sold and proceeds used to build his dream legacy project at his alma mater, Adisador College. Richard Kodonyako has more.
The Adisador College anthem reverberating on the hills of the college. The energies and excitement of the Santa Clausians, both young and old, were to fulfill the wish of Apawu, a Santa 89 who had dreamed doing something befitting for his alma mater before his death in November 2020. At age 49, Apawu died, and relatives of the late business magnate have used proceeds from the sale of his fleet of luxury cars to construct a dormitory for his alma mater, Adisador College.
In '86, we had one fine gentleman join us from London. His name was Apawu.
Ato's classmate, Bishop Ato Dixon of the Healing Jesus Cathedral of the Lighthouse Group of Churches, sharing fond memories of his colleague.
He had passion for cars. He bought quite a number of luxury cars, and so the cars were sold by the family, and out of that, the proceeds that were realized, they used it, to raise this wonderful edifice.
The project, which is worth 5 million Ghana cedis, was handed over and inaugurated on Saturday, making it the 11th dormitory for Adisador College. The Apawu house has 6 rooms, where each having the capacity to accommodate 150 beds with lockers and washrooms, where 6 students share a toilet facility and an ironing space. Richard Kwejonyaako, Joy News, Cape Coast.
And that's it for Newsnight tonight. And joining me in the studio is a man who loves cars as well. He is so into cars. He's just been talking about what he plans to do with his own cars when he's no more. And so when you hear spiking that Apawu had 2 Lamborghinis, he had the Nissan GTR, he had
the Atom
here, and
his Shelby GT 500,
and then he's now sold it, right? You listen to that, you applaud him, and then you think, well, in the future you will do same, because I know you also love cars. You also have a collection. I understand.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
You're not there yet, but
I'm not there yet.
I know. Well, what's up for discussion on Geek Squad?
So, we haven't been on because of the Champions League. So today we're bringing everybody up to speed on what's the latest, what's the newest in the world of technology. And yeah, all the gadgets that have been released while we've been away and all the news that's been going on while we've been away. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned indeed.